Good morning. It's day 19, meal number one today. Now, I had a pretty good night last night. I did wake up really hungry though, and it was about 3 hours after, or 4 hours after the last meal, and I slept really good for a few hours. And then next thing you know, I was wide awake and I had all this energy. And this has been a theme lately. Like, what do I do with all this energy? I'm in the middle of the night. I wake up and then I got really hungry. Now I haven't gotten really hungry like that in a while. Then I got to wondering some of the cravings that came up were really interesting. Like, I was craving to have like a piece of toast, and I haven't had that craving now here for most of the time that we've been working with these changes. And then I had a craving to have like a corn chip, and I thought, well, okay, my kids did want grilled cheese yesterday, so I had the soup, as you saw, and basically some vegetables, and my kids had grilled cheese. And now I do recollect that when I was making that there was a bit of me that was kind of like, oh, I'd like to have a bite of that. There was a little bit of that. I just kind of disregarded it and had what I had in my soup. I had a little smidgen. It would have been maybe like a 16th of a large sized potato. I'm talking maybe it's like a tablespoon of potato. So there was a little carbohydrate there that would be a higher glycemic index carbohydrate. I had a couple carrots. They're better glycemic index than a potato. They're a little bit sweet. They were cooking down in the soup. But most of that soup was chicken and a variety of vegetables that have super low glycemic index. So I was in pretty good shape with that soup and really loving the broth of the soup. The broth seems to be a theme here for me. It seems very nourishing, but there was that little moment during dinner where those grilled cheese looked and smelled and even sounded like really good. How can I be? How can I have that little, like the little sound of a cooking grilled cheese? That's like an interesting thing when I think about it. So, okay, so what I did is I had 4 egg whites. I increased my portion size, and I thought I just got to give myself a couple little things to try to maybe take the edge off in a different way. And I thought that little bit of grilled cheese there's a little fat in that. So I had like a tablespoon of hummus. So maybe a little bit of carbohydrate. The chickpea would be better. The carbohydrate of that's going to be better than wheat flour. And there's a little bit of olive oil in that. So the oil is going to be certainly much better than cheese. And there's a little bit of that tangy flavor like cheese. So I thought maybe I'll have a little bit of that. I had in the refrigerator these hash brown potatoes that are finely chopped. And I was going to just throw those out because they're really not part of the plan. I looked at it for a moment and I'm like, okay, there wasn't any crazy ingredients, just potatoes finely chopped, cooked and finely chopped. And I looked at kind of how it worked. So I took a quarter cup. It was actually less than a quarter cup. And it was maybe like actually more like a tablespoon. And I spread it thin over the little cook top that I have that I like to cook all the big greens in. A little bit of salt and pepper and some onion. So it was about maybe, let's just say, a tablespoon of potato. And I looked to see, well, how much carbohydrate is that? It was about roughly 3 to 4 carbohydrates in that. And then along with it, I had a tablespoon of peas and a tablespoon of corn. And I thought maybe these items, the diversity of these higher sugary items, might help me get over the hump of what I was experiencing, along with 4 egg whites. So increase my protein ingestion when I increase a little bit the poor glycemic index type vegetables. And that was very satisfying. I was able to, get back to bed and get a little sleep. But then I woke up with all this energy again and similar type of craving. So what I did then was I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll just increase my protein a little bit. And so I had a similar strategy. I had 2 tablespoons of tuna salad and instead of like going for like something crunchy or like bread, we bought this Bibb lettuce, 3 heads of Bibb lettuce, and the leaves of the Bibb lettuce are they're really good. Has a subtle flavor to it that's very interesting. It is a little bit crunchy and not like a corn chip. So I made it like a taco with the Bibb lettuce, and I have some of the Bibb lettuce like here. So here's a leaf, and this has been sitting on the counter here all morning, and it's starting to get a little bit more limp, but it stays pretty. It holds its. You can put like little things in there and then wrap it up, and you've got like a taco. So I had a tuna salad taco, and that was super satisfying. It wasn't the thing that I was craving, like the bread that's grilled with a little bit of butter and the olive oil. It wasn't that, but it did have a little bit of crunchiness, and the tuna salad had a little bit of mayonnaise in it. There was a little bit of tanginess to it, and so I just gave my body some in the ballpark of some of the flavor that it was asking for, but more sensibly part of the plan. I mean, it would have been okay if I decided to make a grilled cheese. I mean, if you decide to just eat something that's not on the plan, that's okay. Come back into the plan. The way we come back with a sense of appreciation and gratefulness determines what happens next. The way we let go and come back determines the momentum that we're on. If we get off the plan and we then crush ourselves, like, oh God, I can't believe I did it. Why did I? That's not part of the plan. And we create that state of mind that's very self-critical. That self-critical state of mind is going to need some soothing. Is going to need some, and typically that's the beginning of a chain of events where what is historically soothing for us sometimes is potato chips. Is sometimes a whole list of things. Oh, it reminded me, one of my cravings was corn flakes. Not Frosted Flakes. I never liked sugary stuff. Frosted Flakes would be out of the question for me. Not even, but corn flakes, the little crunch of that, I think. There's a little bit of a sweet flavor, and we don't even have any corn flakes in the household. We don't really have any sugary cereals in the household. Although my kids do like some, like Captain Crunch and Fruit Loops, and they'll have that every once in a while. We have like a little thing of our house money. They can just grab it, go to Hall's Market, get whatever they want at any time they want. They have a lot of freedom around their choices they can make. They know they can make decisions each month within a range of $100 to $200 a month. They help with our businesses. They help to create income. And even at 14 and 12, they have like a little budget they can work in. They can get whatever they want and need. They don't go crazy. They don't buy like $200 worth of Fruit Loops and pile it up in here like, sky high. And we don't have any of that stuff, partly because I'm not interested in it, and partly because they haven't really needed it or wanted it. They've wanted other things that they like and enjoy. And so that trying to satisfy that it would have been okay. Maybe it could have had a 1/4 cup of cornflakes with a little bit of skim milk. And the skim milk I've been using has been this Simply Smart. It's fat-free, but it tastes kind of almost like whole milk. And they have like a little trick where they evaporate some of the water out of this, which thickens it up. So it has like the texture of a regular like whole milk, but it's still skim milk and fat-free. So it's a nice little trick that they have. Now it still has the sugar content of milk. There's a natural high amount of sugar in milk. So with this, 1 cup of this type of milk has 13 carbohydrates in it, and there's no added sugar, 10 grams of protein, there's 0 fat. Okay. Well, I like to have a balance of protein, carbohydrate, and fat. And typically, I've described it as the type of balance that we would find in 2 handfuls of greens, of green and other, like cauliflower is not green, but I'm including all that family of vegetables in the equation, 2 handfuls, and then protein the size of the palm of our hand and a fat size of the thumb roughly, or the end, sort of not our whole thumb, but that would be about an eighth of a avocado, right? I'm saying like there's more like 2 macadamia nuts, like right there. So that I would prefer to have just a little bit of fat. The Greek yogurt that I get the Greek yogurt where there's no added sugar, and that's very important when it comes to yogurt products. So many of the yogurt products have a lot of added sugar. It's advertised as being healthy. The least healthy thing on the planet is yogurt, okay, because of all the added sugar. So you can find, though, yogurts that are unsweetened, plain, no added sugar. They will have the natural occurring sugars that are just simply part of how milk is kind of constructed. The thing I like about the Greek yogurt is it has like a regular amount of fat. For me, even though Dean Ornish's program that we talked about was a non-fat, very low-fat program, they got really good results reversing heart disease. People lost weight automatically without trying. For me, it seems that I need a little bit more fat. So, I'm typically getting my fat in the form of a supplement here, this fish oil supplement. There's lots of these kinds of things on the market. This has a whole spectrum of omega-3 fatty acids, and it predominantly comes from salmon. But there's other fish sources and different ideas about this, kelp, and there's different ways to get these fats. So I take that supplement every day. That helps. I eat a little bit of salmon just about every day. That helps. And anyways, that's what I do. So let's look at what I'm having this morning here. Day 19, meal number 1. I'm having 2 egg whites. There's a tiniest amount of yolk that's left in that, just because mainly I couldn't get it out, but just a tiny amount. I'm having a 1/4 cup of oatmeal. That's a 1/4 cup. It ballooned up a little bit with about a 1/4 cup of that skim milk. Microwaved it for 2 minutes, stirred it up. I added a pretty good amount of cinnamon. There's no added sugar in that. And this, I'm going to eat slowly. I might eat the whole thing. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm just going to follow where my body is. I'll eat and then see where it goes. Maybe I eat the whole thing. Maybe I don't. Also here, I'm going to start on the edge and have some of my nuts here. So I'll start with almond and work my way around, have one of each of the nuts. One of my supplements got in here somehow. And I'll have a piece of the fruit. Here's 1 banana, 1 raspberry, 1 blueberry. I'll have 1 pineapple, apple, and strawberry. So I have a little bit of that. I have my little backup 1/4, it's less than a 1/4, 1/8 a cup of nuts here in case I need something extra today. And I have my salad made with a lot of tomatoes. One thing that I've noticed is that I'm going to have to check with some dietitians here, and I will. I'm going to take the whole program, and I'm going to go over it in its entirety with a dietitian and a physician and kind of look at some of the details of what I'm doing. But one of the things that I've noticed here is that when I reintroduced tomatoes a few days ago, something seemed to change with my sleep pattern. It could be highly coincidental, but I was a little more antsy at night. I have more energy at night, and it seemed to coincide with the change in terms of eating some tomatoes. And I know these tomatoes that I have here, they're pretty, for tomatoes, these are pretty sweet. They're called like Angel Sweet. And so I need to check into that a little bit, but it's just something that I've noticed. So I'm starting to think about cutting back on the tomatoes and just pay attention to like what's happening with my body. Their glycemic index technically is like 15. So from 0 to 100, they're pretty low in the range. We'd like to eat items that are, say, below 50 would be nice. And but let's hold that conversation off for later. Right now we got the general lay of the land. Let's get our day started. Let's have an amazing day because we can. Keep in mind our intention, a little bit of breathing practice. Let's add in as we go a little bit of movement. We could be up and down steps for 5 to 10 minutes. We could go on a walk for 10 to 20 minutes. That's going to help us. If you do a little yoga, how about just a very little bit of gentle yoga along with that? Nice, easy breathing, paying attention to our body, and let's go from there. Okay, day 19, meal number 1. I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of hours.